I'm so glad you're back. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me back.
So, as I was saying, like we've done this before with other people who've come back more than once, friends, and I've always enjoyed the second time because it's less structured, less interview, less, hey, who are you, how'd you get here kind of thing, and it's more, I feel like getting to know you a little bit, but you're the first person who's ever come to me and said, hey, David, like I want to come back one or two times. I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. I'm like, absolutely. So good for you. So where'd that courage come from?
I don't know. I feel like there is just a lot of things that need to be discussed, such as like today's episode, women in industry, is it's a like a well-known topic, I think, but I think it's just good to highlight a lot of like what that encompasses and what it looks like, and yeah, talk about that experience and maybe inspire some women to take the leap and enter the industry, and then yeah, another episode would be like Indigenous issues, which we kind of talked about both last episode,
Yeah, we
but
did.
it was just kind of like,
I feel like we just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Like barely.
yeah, so it's good to have like, a dedicated, I guess, topic to really give those themes justice.
I appreciate that. So you are a long-time pipeliner, and that's why it matters that you're talking, because you've lived it, and where a lot of people talk about women in energy, and it's a vague, generic thing unless you've really talked about it and understand the challenges, but also the successes and the good things. It's just all vague. So that's why I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, I find that as well. It's kind of like a buzzword. It's like women in industry, but it's like, well, what does that look like? What's included in that? How are, we supported? And what are the conversations around that when it's not a punchline?
Oh, for sure. Or a bumper sticker, basically.
Yeah.
So I guess just jumping right into it, I guess the first question is obvious. Like, what drew you to working in, I want to say energy, but like when I say energy, I mean it could be anything. We could be talking about mining, forestry, pipeline, anything. It could be energy. So what drew you? I'm using the word energy. We both know I'm talking about pipeline, but what drew you towards it?
Well, my evolved answer now would be like, oh, well, it's like a community economy, right? Like it's a northern, it's just like a northern economy. That's what everybody has a job in the oil field. So, but really, it was my cousin Cheyenne who inspired me because she was out pipelining and. Funnily enough, my interest in oil and gas construction was a woman. So she had like the funniest stories, and she made it sound like a bunch of fun. And
Did she lie, or was she telling the truth?
No, actually, she grew up like ranching as well. So she's a hard worker, and I think that was like. Through her stories, there was a lot of joking and a lot of like, a lot of fun and a lot of tall tales. But then she would have moments where she would get really serious, and she would really talk about like safety and like, I guess just like technical stuff. And I think that's what interested me. And then when I entered the fields, I kind of had that perspective as well. Like, there is an element to it where it's like hard work. It's like serious business. So, that's kind of what my first step was into the industry was, just through a woman's perspective.
How was your experience different than what you perceived it would be?
I didn't really have any like preconceived assumptions. Okay. Again, like I had just come out from Starbucks, I just come from the city. I honestly had no idea what I was getting into. I know my mom was very worried. She was actually pretty mad because she's like, why do you want to go out to, you know, the pipeline? And again, like, there was just so much stigma out there, right? Like, it's a harsh industry for women. And then, like, the stereotypes of oil and gas field workers, right? Like, they're crude, they're just a different on a different level. So my mom was very concerned, which, again, like, I was just always kind of fearless that way, where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna try it. Like, if my cousin can do it, like, it sounds like I can do it.
But even then, you would have understood where she was coming from.
Yeah, for sure. My mom's very cautious, and I understood, like, yeah, there's risks. But again, I'm the type of person to just kind of just go and do it. And which actually has cultivated a lot of success for me. I'm always just like, yeah, whatever, let's try that, let's do this, like, let's see where this leads. And just being able to experiment that way has worked out for me. But yeah, my mom was not happy. But I think after a year, she, like, realized, like, maybe it was a good fit, because I had learned a lot of, like, work ethic. And I was just, like, really proud to go to work months on end and work 12-hour days. Like, it just became such, like, a second nature. So,
but that's not normal for most people. Like, if you tell people when you were pipelining, oh yeah, we work 72, sometimes 84 hours a week, we have to work on Sunday, like, that, like, boggles people's mind, and you actually liked it.
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
I don't know. I think it's because, you know, like, yeah, the days are long, but the months are short. And we did get, like, our springs off, right? And there were chunks of time where we got time off, so that made it easier. Whereas, like now in a traditional work schedule, I find, like, I just get, like, little bits of time, like, little increments, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like enough. Whereas, like, you know, I had 2 months of time, so I was able to travel or like just do more instead of, like, a 2-day weekend, right? So there was freedom in it, and I think just recognizing that and capitalizing on that, and making sure that, you know, when I'm home, I have all my, like, appointments lined up. I do my, like, my annual, like, routine life stuff.
I all do it.
Yeah.
I'm at home for 3 weeks. I got an eye appointment and a doctor's appointment and a dentist appointment.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just learning how to balance that, and I think you just adjust, and you don't actually, like, feel like it's crazy. In the beginning you do, like, adjusting to that schedule, but, like, it's super rewarding. So it wasn't too bad.
I know this is probably going to come up tomorrow, but it's funny for me to hear you talking about taking a rest, because I know what you do outside of this, sitting at this table, which is owning businesses, working, networking, spending time with your family. So I don't know how good you are at taking a rest, but we could talk more about that tomorrow. How about?
Yeah.
So tell me about, in the context of Women in Energy, can you share even gently about some of the challenges you've faced from a gender perspective?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just, like, not being heard. Like, when everybody's kind of, like, gathered around trying to tackle something that came up, like a challenge or something, and, like, speaking up and saying, like, oh, I think we should do X, Y, Z because of what happened a month ago, right? Like, putting things into perspective, and then nobody, like, reacting to that or being like, no. And then trying, like, multiple different ways to complete this objective, and then none of them working, and then at the end someone suggests what I suggested to begin with, and then it works, and then it's just kind of like invalidating, which I think is like a common experience for women, is just to just not get that trust. And then, yeah, I think just being invalidated a lot and having more to prove, and like less room to, I guess, like to fail. So I feel like a lot of my successes weren't really noticed, but like my mistakes were. And so I think that's like very common with a lot of women, especially in pipeline. Like we have to do things perfectly, or else like that's all people will see.
Like you almost have to be exceptional for pipeliner standards just to be accepted or one of the guys or whatever.
Yeah, and then even then still being discounted when it matters. So yeah, just like that, not having the recognition, I guess. So yeah, that might have been the hardest, especially like when I know like somebody who doesn't work as hard as me, or like just doesn't put as much effort into it, they get more, I guess, kudos, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, because it's tough to, like, how do you even address those things? Because it's hard enough to even speak up in the first place, let alone how go through it, and then be able to go like, hey man, what the hell? You know, that second conversation, well, hey, what the hell just happened? Like, I suggested this like a week ago, and you guys weren't paying attention. Like, it's hard to find your voice.
Yeah, so at the end, I think instead of like waiting to receive my flowers, just self-validating myself, being like, no, I know that I put in 110%, and that's all that matters. And again, like looking for validation in other ways, like, oh, I was given this responsibility, or I was offered this job first, or this opportunity because, you know, I am reliable, dependable, and all those things. So yeah, just striving to be dependable, because at the end, you know, people might not say it, but they know it.
Was there a time that you found after you've been pipelining for a while where you felt like less of a woman on the crew and more of I'm a pipeliner?
Yeah, actually, I think it was when everybody stopped filtering themselves around me.
Ah, gotcha.
So
that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, it's like, and then I think sometimes the crew would catch themselves. They're like, oh, like you're a woman. And I'm like, yeah, I've been the woman this whole time. But yeah, it's just being able to kind of blend into the background after a while. And I think like I really try to, another component is like strength, right? Like women aren't as strong as men, which is fine. But I found that I was trying to overcompensate for that too. So I was like throwing sandbags. I was trying to like grab 3 skids. You know, I was really trying to put in that physical work as well as like a lot of the mental work. So I think near the end, people were saying that they're like, Simone, you're going to make a great husband one day.
Oh, funny. I like that. But you do need to be like a hustler and a grinder, because I know people who, great people, love them, all this kind of stuff, but that sometimes when times are tough, that's not enough to keep you around on a job. Like, you need to be a hustler. And if you can't adopt that skill set, you could be smart, you could be funny, witty, charming, loving, all these kind of stuff. Sometimes it comes down to just hustling.
Exactly, because it's like, yeah, like personality will get you far, but at the end of the day, you need to learn when to lock in. And that was probably like my balance was, yeah, like there's work to do. What can I do next? Like, how do I figure this problem out? Like, when people are talking and I overhear them say like, oh, in like an hour we need to move this. So like mentally, like writing that down and then moving it, and then they're like, oh shit,
you were paying attention.
Yeah, so it's just like little things like that, which like, yeah, you just have to pay attention.
For sure. But in addition to like being a hard worker, how did you use like your soft skills, your critical conversation skills to help bridge some of those gaps from, again, gender perspective?
I think that like my writing skills were really important,
Okay.
especially like I was tasked with writing all the FLHAs.
Okay, right on.
And I went above and beyond because I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, like, I'm going to make sure I'm referencing as much, like, safety material as I can. So, and then, yeah, like, safety noticed. I think they tried to poach me a couple times. And it's just, like, making sure that you're, like, a well-rounded, like, employee or, like, laborer. So that, you know, you're hitting every point. You got your safety, you got your physical labor, you have like your mental labor, you have your pre-planning, your project management, and
that's a good hand you just described. A really good hand.
Exactly. Yeah. And so again, it's like women have to be all that, right? And then the most determined men just are that, right? And then you have like some of your workers who just they don't want to hit those levels, which is fine. Like not everybody's gonna do that, but like women don't have that choice. They have to prove every day that you know they're worth their seat.
I like that. How do you? Is it on the industry? Is it on different organizations or companies, or is it on the individual to help bridge some of these gaps? Because you're talking about gaps between men and women. We know how to fill those gaps because of what you just described, but it's almost like they exist either culturally, even outside of our industry. So is it on the individual to keep finding their voice to bridge it, or is it on companies or the industry or maybe leaders?
Well, it definitely takes two. So yeah, on an individual level, you also have to, you know, it's everything's reciprocal, right? So. And I do find industry are very supportive of women, and there's so many more like initiatives and like mandates, and I think that like also it should come from like your fellow coworkers who are supporting those initiatives instead of being like, oh, that's stupid. You know, but seeing it as value, like, oh, like my coworker is being supported through this, and yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, bridging the gap is I think everybody's responsibility.
Okay, I like that. I think that's probably the answer. I think some people probably are more interested in bridging those gaps and being more inclusive than others, I would say. But again, is that an industry culture, or is it a generational culture, I would say, is maybe part of it too?
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, like, I think 5% of the, like, field workforce is, 5% is women.
Okay.
But then, like, when you go into the office corporate spaces, it's 40%. So it's definitely like a cultural, environmental mindset. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's like at a field level trying to tell the guys like, yeah, women are important. It's just, either they think it or they don't. But again, it's like, shouldn't matter to anybody on a personal level. It's just should be like, yeah, right on, like, let's rock.
Yeah, you're a pipeliner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I know you mentioned your cousin, which I love. Who else kind of helped you along in your career?
I think a lot of the inspectors. I've met a lot of really great inspectors, like women inspectors who were always like kind of my cheerleaders. They were like they were the ones who validated me because they were like, yeah, it's so kick-ass that you're doing this. And they were older, right? So they've seen 30 years of pipeline, and they were the ones who really like slugged through it. And then to get that, like, you're doing awesome from somebody who really went through it.
It does need more, I would say, from some of the old people.
Yeah, so a lot of the inspectors for sure. But it wasn't until I crossed over to the corporate space where I started getting like way more like women support. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't want to say that, like, because also, no, I've gotten a lot of support on the field side as well. Like, you know, like the safety team or like a lot of like the office people, and especially like people like you, like inviting me out to speak on this podcast. So there's support everywhere. But like, yeah, for women's support, yeah, I found it's more so in the office than in the field because, like I said, there's only 5% women in the field, but like it's there.
That's good. No, I appreciate that. When people always talk to me about who I look up and mentors, and I find our industry is still, there's always an age component, but I always find pipeliners, the old gray-haired guys, like we still like those old guys as an industry. And I bring that up only because I'm like, man, not a lot of older women out there. And I did start on Coastal with Liz Shearer, and heaven forbid, I'll edit out the older part. But someone I looked up to, and she was still in the field and before COVID, and she decided to pack it in. Still works in the office, obviously, but she didn't want to work in the field anymore, and I love that. So you talk about 5%. In the office, the field office, it's probably even, like, I don't even know, it's not even 1%. It's tiny.
Yeah, and I find that, like, those types of women are the trailblazers. They're like, they're rock solid. Like, you can't even look at them wrong.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you a quick story. So I just got out to Coastal, and I was there, I'm going to say about 6 months, and every year they have, I think it's a UN initiative, the International Women's Day. So I thought, oh, this would be cool. I'll go to, you know, our office trailer and grab a couple of the women and say, here's my phone. You know, if you do me a short little message for International Women's Day, encouraging women, I'd really appreciate it. So I got a lot from my trailer, from the client trailer. Awesome, sounds good, amazing. And Liz, I don't want to say her age, but I walked into her office. I said, hey, Liz, this is what I'm trying to do. Would you mind, I'll give you my phone in private. Just go do a little video for me about International Women's Day. And she turned her chair over and went like, okay, I'm ready now. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like scrambling, get my phone. And I'm like, okay, go. So she starts talking to me, looking me in the eye. She goes, I just want to say I'm so proud of all you girls out there. And I'm so thankful you every day being out here in the field. And I look up to you and admire you. Well, as she's talking, so I'm looking at her, and I could feel myself starting to tear up. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to start crying. But it was so heartfelt. And you want to talk about trailblazers, boss babes, women in the industry that have been working there, I'm going to say like 50 years at that point, working in our industry. It totally blew me away, and I love that family to death, as you know. But anyway, Liz, if you ever have a chance to meet her, I would love to introduce you.
And I would love that.
So I don't know if we're talking about today, but we're going to talk about, you have talked in, was it high school recently?
Oh, yeah. So I was invited to speak on a panel for Skilled Trades BC at the Northern Lights College in Dawson Creek. It was in front of a bunch of high school students, high school girls, because the panel was women in trades. So it was me and a bunch of other women, all in various trades. There was like a plumber, there was field operators, from ARC Resources, they were there, and then there was like a woman from Fort Nelson who owned her own carpentry business, and she was like an engineer, and it was just really inspiring.
So how did you get onto the panel in the first place? Like, how did this opportunity arise?
I was actually so like one of my friends in industry, Sarah, she always like kind of directs all these opportunities to me, because I think like she's very forward facing in the industry, and she does a lot of work, and I think she gets offered these opportunities,
Okay.
but she'll like pass them on to me because she's
awesome.
busy, or she'll like suggest my name if there's like a spot somewhere. So she's been like my number one like supporter,
Amazing.
like best friend. Like she's probably facilitated a lot of opportunities, and that's just how she is, and she's like that with everybody. She's always trying to make connections and make sure people are taken care of. And so yeah, she was like, hey, there's like a spot here. I told the organizer about you, and then they're interested to speak about like your time in pipeline. And I was like, of course, I would
Amazing.
love to. And so I did that, and it was awesome. But it was like grade 9s, 10s, no, grade 10s, 11, 12. And it was so funny because, I don't know if you've ever talked to like a teenage girl, but it's like talking to a wall. And I was just like so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I hope they think I'm cool. And I was like... And then I was like talking about the industry and like how to like succeed, and I could see the light leaving their eyes, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like,
man.
how do I make this sound cool? And they're just like, I don't know. One girl was like doing her mascara, and I was just like, yeah, which is funny because I used to be that girl, right? I was like, you know what, I can be gentle on them, but it was so nerve-wracking. But like some girls were interested, but a lot of them were just like, oh, we have to be here.
Well, you have to appreciate for a young person like that, they have like zero context what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're like an adult, so you can look back and go, you guys, this is incredible. And there's such an opportunity here. Like, I can't even explain it, but they have no concept. I would love to hear, so did you give them like actual like advice, or how did this talk go?
Yeah, so I shared some pictures that I pulled from the field, and we were just given like free reign to just speak. And some of the girls went through their day-to-day, what that looked like. A lot of them talked about like the training or education they had to go through to get into their trades. But for me, I tried to think, I'm like, okay, how would I explain this to my youngest cousin who does not care what I say at all? So I tried to keep it like very general. I didn't want to get too technical. I didn't want to go on a boring tangent about tie-ins or something that they don't care about. Like, didn't talk about like mainline or all these things that they can't, like you said, like they don't have a concept of. So I was like, how do I explain like my journey through the industry that'll resonate with them? So I just explained how I started picking up garbage, and then I said, don't ever be afraid to, one, go do something, and don't ever think something's like beneath you. Like, just grab, like I said, like when they told me to pick up garbage, I just said, where's the bags? You know, like I didn't make a fuss about it. I was just like, just learn how to just go do the thing. Because I find a lot of kids these days, they don't know how to do something, so they just won't. And
I have to ask though, like, how much of this also came from your parents when you were growing up?
oh, for sure. I was yelled at a lot.
Go do this.
Yeah. And it's funny how all those lessons kind of kick in later in life, because now I am always saying, I'm like, they were right the whole damn time.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to put a blend of like, how do I give that, like those lessons, like those lectures, but make it a lot softer, like, because kids will just tune you out. So I was just like, how do I keep them focused? So yeah, I was just like trying to insert little pieces of life advice during my story. And I kind of just like focused on like, not like trying to sell pipeline on them, but trying to sell like hard work and like good values, and like what does that look like to you? How will that guide you as you're going through high school and like as you get into like the workforce? And I think just like having that in their thoughts, like how am I going to succeed? How will I show up, right? And how will I learn to advocate for myself, create some confidence, and get that context for their lives.
What you're describing to me is so interesting, because I know it's focused on the trades, obviously, and so applicable. You're describing life, like how to have a successful life. And it's just simply by showing up. So I would like to think, there was a few people, young women in that room, who your message, if it didn't resonate at the time, they've thought about it since.
That would be nice. That would be so nice. Yeah, because I was like, they don't care about me pipelining. But, my message was just like, do it. Just do it. No matter what it looks like, just get out there. Just do it. Do it bad. Do it good. Do it. Just do something. And then these experiences shape your entire life. And nothing is like a wasted opportunity. Like, you will learn so much by just saying yes to things and being open and just wanting to be present. So that's
good.
my
I like
message.
That. No, that's powerful. Again, powerful for me. But again, who knows? Through a young person's ears. Again, I was that young person too once, right?
Yeah.
If I had to ask you, and again, I'm putting you on the spot here, when it comes to women and energy, like they do bring something special, something that's different that men don't bring, because they don't have it, and I don't know what that is, or how does that look like, but it does add something special to the dynamic in the industry. Can you describe that better than I'm trying to?
Let's see. I think maybe just a balance, or else you'll get like a Lord of the Flies situation.
Yeah.
Like you always need.
Is it a softness, or is there something else?
Probably, like a calmness, like, I don't know. I think that men and women are yin and yang. We just balance each other out, and like we're both, I think, needed in every industry, because we, like men and women, have different but equal talents and skills. So I think that you just have to have some women on the team to balance things out.
No, that's good balance. This reminds me of what we just talked about before we hit record. I asked you about work-life balance, and you're like, yeah, I don't have that. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I'll ask a different question.
Yeah, I'm not super zen that way. And I don't think a lot of people in oil and gas are. Like, it's pretty hectic, and again, I'm like saying yes to every opportunity, because I don't have that work-life balance. I just have a work life.
Well, people talk about that, culturally, the work hard, play hard. They apply the same dedication time full on even to their fun life, and that probably causes a lot of chaos in people's personal lives after work. But some people, you can't shut it off, and I don't know, is that because, do you think it's the long hours, or what creates that?
I don't know. Like, I also don't see time as like 8-hour chunks. Things happen as they go. So I'm like, oh, I'll have to fit this in tomorrow, or oh, I have time to do this now. So it's never like I'm planning weeks in advance. I'm just making things fit like Tetris. So that's kind of like how I approach my work life, and that really works for me, just kind of being spontaneous that way. So I'll be like, oh, I have this weekend and it's free. Like, I don't have any obligations or anything. So I'm like, oh, I'll plan to do something.
So you'll make it something fit in that space.
Exactly. Or I'll just be like, I don't want to do anything. And
so you're like the embodiment of, what's that expression? If you want something done, ask a busy person. You are that person, Simone.
I have a lot on the go. And I don't ever try to like micromanage it. I'm just like, oh, this day I'm doing this, the next day I'm doing that. Like, I just went to a baby shower in Medicine Hat, and I was like, okay, I'll drive there on Friday. I'll get there on Sunday. On Saturday.
Drive home.
I'll get back here on Sunday, and then I have a week here. Like, I'll do some meetings, and then just filling the time as opposed to, like, the time kind of dictating what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So it's just, yeah, like, finding the rhythm in my own schedule has helped a lot. Again, though, like, that's kind of easy for me because I don't have, you know, kids, or I don't have a lot of responsibility that way. Like, it's just me. So it's a lot easier to do that. Like, I'm sure if, you know, I had a family to take care of, it would be a different story. Because that's when it gets more challenging, and then you don't have that freedom to be like, oh, I'll just let things come as they go, you know.
But again, I would say you're not good at sitting idle anyway. So I would suggest very gently that your priorities and how you spend your time, it wouldn't change a lot even if you had kids. Like, you'd still be you, and you'd still be, because if you weren't doing something, you'd have the kids doing something. You'd be busy and going and.
For sure. And I think that's, like, how my mom was. And that's probably why I'm the way I am now. Like, she always had something on the go, like running errands or, you know, meetings or something, traveling. And she just towed me along because in her mind, she's like, well, what am I going to do with you? And she never let, like, me as a child dictate her schedule. So, but yeah, you're right.
It's hard to imagine, like, your life isn't better for, I don't want to say go, but the fact that you sometimes do fill your time, whether it's used wisely or not, it's a different conversation, but, like, you don't sit idle. And I think you are going to probably do more and experience more and meet more people and all this stuff because of that trait. I think it's amazing. It's a positive thing, I guess. Yeah,
it is. And yeah, when I do have free time and I've been on the go for a few weeks, I'm like, no, I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to sleep because, you know, I do also prioritize rest. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm not good at resting. I'm out of questions, but I do have one that I've thought of since we were sitting around talking. I think you had something you wanted to mention, but if I had to put you on the spot and say, Simone, I've seen your pipeline, I've seen you on the right away, I know you own businesses, all this kind of stuff. What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind for you, Simone, in terms of women in energy?
That's a good question. And that's, like, something I think about all the time because starting these businesses, like, I just started a business called Asiskiy Construction. And for me, it was more of, like, it's not because I want to be successful. I feel like I already am in a lot of ways. And so Asiskiy to me is, like, how do I give back? You know, how do I support women? And that is, like, one of our initiatives is, like, I want to start a women's group up in Fort St. John for the women in my community.
Amazing.
Because it's like, how do I package my success and put it in the hands of another woman? Because, like, I've had some women in my community say, like, oh, like, you worked on the pipeline, like, I could never do that. And I'm like, but you can.
You could, yeah.
Yeah, you can. You just have to go do it. Yeah. And it's scary, but so yeah, that's been kind of my mission is how do I create, like, a safe space for women? How do I put, you know, education and success into their hands?
But it's interesting to me, like, even hearing you talk, like, even you, the act of you physically doing all these things, sometimes that's enough to inspire people and give them the courage to know, oh, maybe I can do it too, just by you doing it and seeing who's watching.
Yeah, well, I come from, like, a matriarchal family. My grandmother was the foundation of our family, and she, like, if I know unconditional love, it's because of her. And she always made sure everybody was okay. always made sure everybody was supported.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from like a poor family, like all you have is each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course like my mom is also the same.
Mm-hmm.
And just like very community minded,
mm-hmm.
and taught me that. And so I also have this like this, it feels like a duty, like an obligation to make my community a better place. And so it's like, how do I do that? And how do I help support, you know, like a marginalized group
mm-hmm.
in an already marginalized community? So, yeah, like I'm just at the very beginning of it, you know. I just finally created this business. I just submitted my first bid a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
And we're an earthworks company, and as well as like reclamation, remediation, and demolition. So I have a pretty big service list, and I'm excited to explore that, you know. Like I want to create a equipment operator program for people in the community, but also I want to tailor it for women, you know. And I know that like for my community there's a lot of proud operators, you know. That's kind of been like a staple position for Indigenous people, just to run equipment, and there's a lot of pride in that. So
well, and if not for people like you, you know, some of these initiatives don't come to life. You could have the best idea in the world, and unless someone's willing to put in the time and action, money, resources, whatever, to do it, it won't happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to me, because, you know, I've been affected by it. So it's like, and I'm pretty competent, capable. I go out, I get things, but not a lot of people can do that, you know, whether it be fear or, like especially as an Indigenous woman, it's like hard to kind of break into industries, or scary. So yeah, I find again, like it's my duty, because I was able to do it. I have to clear that path for the women in my community, and just make it a better place, because the past administrations in my community have just been men. And so a lot of the vulnerable groups in the community just have kind of been forgotten. And I find that now there's a lot more women being engaged. And like we're all very hopeful and optimistic. And yeah, it's just how do we succeed together? That's the question. And there's so much support from industry, and I thought I put this on Do Not Disturb. Oh, it's my cousin, because it bypasses it, because she's one of my favorite people.
I have my kids.
So,
I know that last time when we were talked briefly about, because I am a big proponent of it used to be called the Calgary Women in Energy, and they've rebranded themselves because they opened a chapter in Edmonton. So now they rebranded to Canadian Women in Energy. So I've been to a bunch of their events and know a bunch of the people who are involved in that group. And so you're asking about, okay, how do you make this? How do you clear the path? How do you do it? Like, what does that look like? And I would say they're a group you should be talking to. Because again, Shauna Holmes, I think she's the current president, but she's a natural connector of people, and where she finds the energy, but she's just that person. And I would love to see you, if you want to look at a model that supports women from not just an industry perspective, but just a networking perspective, whatever industry they're in, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to Shauna, and I know she'll make time for you.
Yeah, that would be incredibly valuable, because it's like the women in spaces that are very supportive and connecting. So like I went to the Fort St. John Chamber of Commerce put on the Creating Energy Northern Resources Conference last week, and I got to meet the mayor, Ilya Hansen, and then a bunch of other women from the city council office. And like, I just walked up to her and I was like, oh my God, this is the mayor. And she just like took my hand and she was like, so great to meet you. And it's just like, I was like, wow, there's like no, I guess this is so comfortable. And immediately she was like kind of started talking about that. She's like, yeah, we're all friends here. Like, pulls this lady over. She's like, we went to high school together. And everybody was just talking, and it felt like so nice. It was like a sorority, and like a lot of women in these spaces are just so dynamic and so smart
and supportive.
Yeah, so supportive. Just so happy to help and reach out. And I met a lot of great women, and I think that's like where like the future is heading. Like, how do we support like women's groups in industries? It's, well, like, get all the women together. We love planning, we love chatting, we love, you know, sitting around getting to know each other and creating spaces for that support to happen. And I was like talking to a lady from the city office, and we were talking about my community, and I was telling her about, you know, the things that I want to do, and we were talking about how, you know, like, my reserve is so close to Fort St. John, but yet there's no connection there. And it's like, how do we get our governance and the city's governance together, you know, making those connections, and like starting a women's group? Like, how do we get things connected? So I think that's the answer, is just connecting communities together through women.
Oh, amazing. No, I appreciate that. I definitely don't want to hit record and stop this conversation, but is there anything else you want to share before we do part ways today?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay, I will connect with Shauna, and I would love for you to have her. And obviously, I don't know if you've ever met my wife, Sweet Marie, but she's the same thing, another woman I look up to very highly in terms of a very, very quiet person, but super on the inside, super strong, loves hard, one of those type of people. And again, great connector for you to meet as well.
Yeah, I did meet her at
last
the
time?
Christmas party.
Oh, did you? Oh, amazing. Sounds good.
Yeah, she's very, very nice.
Oh, good. I'll let her know later. It means a lot for me. Thank you very much for your time. And we do have another conversation in the queue booked for another day, which I'm very much looking forward to. Talk soon.
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Oh my God, that was so good.